This video is brought to you by Wise. I've spent quite a lot of time living in Tbilisi over the past few years, and today I want to show you what life here actually costs. Can you really live comfortably in Georgia's capital on around $900 a month? And if so, what kind of lifestyle does that budget actually give you? When people think about moving to Europe, they usually expect high rent and expensive day-to-day living. But Tbilisi is a bit different. It offers a surprisingly good quality of life while still being much more affordable than most European capitals. For me, this budget covers everything I normally spend in a month: my rent and utilities, fast internet, groceries, eating out, health insurance, and transportation. It also leaves room for a few tennis sessions with friends, lots of glasses of famous Georgian wine, specialty coffee, and still enough flexibility to enjoy the city without constantly thinking about money. Of course, everyone has a different lifestyle. Some expats spend well over $2,000 a month, while others I have met personally live comfortably on much less. In this video, I'll break down every major expense based on what I personally spend living here. I'll also share the neighborhoods I'd recommend, the overall vibe and aesthetics of the city, and how I handle international transfers and exchange rates while living abroad. But more importantly, I'll talk about the downsides and deal breakers I think you should know about before moving to Tbilisi. So, let's get into it. But before we get into my monthly expenses, there's a more important question. Why would anyone choose to live in Tbilisi in the first place? For me, the answer is simple. This is one of those cities that feels comfortable almost immediately. It's relaxed without being boring, lively without feeling overwhelming, and somehow manages to blend old-world charm with a modern lifestyle. One of the first things you'll notice is how walkable the city is. You'll spend hours wandering through narrow cobblestone streets, crossing the river on foot, discovering hidden courtyards, local bakeries, and cafes tucked away inside historic buildings. Every neighborhood seems to have its own personality. The architecture is one of my favorite parts. Traditional wooden balconies sit next to colorful houses, Soviet apartment blocks, old churches, and modern glass buildings. It sounds like an odd combination, but somehow it all works together and gives Tbilisi a character unlike anywhere else I've visited. Another reason I keep coming back is the cafe culture. There are hundreds of independent coffee shops across the city, and many of them are perfect for working remotely. It's completely normal to spend a few hours on your laptop, and the overall pace of life feels much slower than in most European capitals. Nature is never far away either. Within minutes, you can hike up to Matatsminda Park, ride the cable car to Narikala Fortress, or simply relax along the river. And if you have a car, or don't mind a couple of hours on a train, the Caucasus Mountains, vineyards, and small historic towns are all easy weekend trips. One thing that surprised me when I first moved here was how safe the city feels. I often walk home late in the evening without thinking twice. Like anywhere, you should use common sense, but overall, Tbilisi has always felt very comfortable to me. You will see police cars and street cameras everywhere, and it's ranked as one of the safest capitals in the world. The international community has also grown a lot over the past few years. You'll meet digital nomads, entrepreneurs, remote workers, retirees, and people who originally came for a few months, but somehow never left. Georgia's generous visa policy for many nationalities has definitely helped create that atmosphere. Many nationalities can stay for up to 1 year with no paperwork, but I will get back to that in a minute. And then there's the food. Georgian cuisine deserves its reputation. Khachapuri, kinkali, ojakhuri, fresh bread. Eating out is part of everyday life here, and it's quite affordable. Wine is another thing Georgians are proud of, always competing with neighboring Armenia over whose wine culture is the oldest in the world. This is another topic I will get back to soon. Situated in the Caucasus Mountains, technically on the Asian continent, Tbilisi offers a European lifestyle, a fascinating culture, great food, beautiful architecture, and a very active expat community. Accommodation will probably be your biggest monthly expense. The first thing to understand is that prices vary a lot depending on the neighborhood. Areas like Vakhei and Vira are among the most popular with expats. They're full of cafes, restaurants, parks, and co-working spaces, but they're also some of the most expensive parts of the city. A small studio or one-bedroom apartment here starts at around 1,600 lari per month. If you're looking for something more affordable, neighborhoods like Suburtalo or parts of Isani can offer much better value while still being well connected by the metro. Personally, I kept it simple and booked a nice room in Avlabari. It's small, but clean, bright, has a nice balcony, plenty of natural light, and a fully equipped shared kitchen. It also has a great shower and good air conditioning. I pay only 800 lari per month, and I'm very happy with the overall value. I usually start my search on platforms like Airbnb or Booking.com. Then I visit the property in person and ask the landlord directly if they can offer a better price for a long-term rental without going through the platform. They save on booking fees, and you usually get a discount. It's also the easiest way to have a place for your first week. But for anything longer, I always recommend looking locally. Facebook groups, local real estate websites like ss.g, and local agents often have much better deals than international booking platforms. Many landlords don't even advertise on Airbnb, so once you're in the city, you'll quickly discover a much larger selection of apartments. Most rentals here come fully furnished, which makes moving incredibly easy. It's common to find apartments that already include a washing machine, kitchen appliances, internet, basic furniture, and everything you need to move in immediately. For me, having a clean apartment in a walkable neighborhood close to cafes and public transport is much more important than living in the city center, which is more touristy, chaotic, and noisy at night. Personally, I never paid more than 120 lari a month for utilities, because I usually stay during the shoulder seasons, so I rarely need heating or air conditioning. My place also didn't have gas, and Wi-Fi was included in the rent. Winter is when your bills can increase the most. Most apartments use gas heating or electric heaters, so electricity, gas, and water can easily reach 300 per month, depending on your usage and the size of the apartment. The summers are also hot, so expect a similar utility bill if you use the air conditioning a lot. Water itself is very cheap and usually only costs a few dollars per month. Internet is another strong point. Most apartments already include Wi-Fi, and speeds of 1 to 300 megabits per second are common. If it isn't included, home internet costs around 30 lari per month. You won't find many self-service laundromats or laundry delivery services here, but almost every apartment comes with a washing machine, so it's rarely an issue. Food is one of the biggest reasons I keep coming back to Georgia. It's simple, hearty, and incredibly satisfying, and it's genuinely difficult to have a bad meal because the competition is so strong. You'll find everything from small bakeries and street food to modern cafes and great restaurants, and the price difference between them isn't as dramatic as in many other countries. Dishes like khachapuri, kinkali, ojakuri, and fresh salads are everywhere. A typical meal in a local restaurant usually costs around 20 lari, depending on what you order, and the portions are often large enough to share. For example, one kinkali starts at 1.5 lari in local restaurants, and I bet you will never be able to eat 10 in one sitting. One thing I really like is that even the simplest places feel authentic. It's not about fancy presentation, but good food and consistency. After a while, you'll probably end up returning to the same places where the staff recognize you. Just greet them with a warm gamarjoba, and you'll fit right in. If you're craving something different, Tbilisi also has plenty of Japanese, Middle Eastern, Italian, and healthy cafes. They're a little more expensive, but still reasonably priced. I usually spent 360 lari per month eating out, and I think it's absolutely worth it. For groceries, I mostly shop at Carrefour, Spar, local markets, and small street stalls. Local produce, dairy, and bread are very affordable, while imported products cost more. My monthly grocery bill is around 660 lari, which I think offers great value. Coffee is another part of daily routine. Great coffee shops are everywhere, especially in the downtown, Vera and Vaque, and a cappuccino usually costs between 6 and 10 lari, while an oat milk latte can reach 15 lari in a more upscale specialty coffee shop. The Wi-Fi is usually great in cafes, and you'll often see lots of remote workers on their laptops. Wine is another great reason to keep coming back. Many of you probably don't know this, But Georgia is actually one of the oldest wine-producing countries in the world, with a winemaking tradition dating back thousands of years. After tasting local wines made from grapes like Saperavi, Kinsmarauli, and Kisi, it's hard to stop after the first glass. You won't believe it, but a bottle of mid-range wine in a supermarket starts at around 11 lari, and a glass in a wine bar usually costs between 5 and 10. Overall, including groceries, eating out, wine, and a few coffees, I spent around 1,200 lari per month. And I honestly think it's excellent value for the quality you get. Getting around Tbilisi is very smooth and cheap. The city is fairly compact, and the transport system is simple once you get used to it. Public transport is reliable and easy to use. The metro has only 2 lines and doesn't cover much of the city, so buses are really the backbone of the network. With a Metro Money card, any bus or metro ride costs just 1 lari for 90 minutes, even if you switch between them. If you don't have the card, you can simply tap your Visa or MasterCard, or even use Apple Pay. It does cost a bit more though, so if you're staying for a while, I definitely recommend getting a Metro Money card. For short trips, ride-hailing apps like Bolt and Yandex Go are very popular. A typical ride across the city usually costs between 5 and 8 lari, and even longer trips are quite inexpensive. One thing that surprised me is how much I end up walking. Tbilisi is quite hilly, but many neighborhoods are very walkable. You naturally discover small streets, cafes, viewpoints, and hidden staircases along the way. There are also shared scooters and electric bikes around the city, although not as many as I'd like. They're useful for short distances, but most people still rely on walking, taxis, or public transport. Another fun option is the cable car to Narikala Fortress. It's more of a tourist attraction than everyday transport, but for 2.5 lari, it offers one of the best views of the city. Overall, I don't think I've ever spent more than 70 lari a month on transportation in Tbilisi, probably because everything is relatively close and I enjoy walking whenever the weather is nice. Tbilisi is one of those cities where you don't really need to plan your free time. Things just happen naturally. You go out for a coffee, end up walking longer than expected, meet people, and suddenly the whole evening is sorted. One of the best parts is the cafe and bar culture. You'll find everything from quiet wine bars to busy local pubs and rooftop spots with great views over the city. There's also a strong sense of community. Regular meetups, language exchanges, co-working events, and fitness groups are easy to find around the city. Tennis is another great activity when the weather is nice. At the Vake tennis courts, an hour costs between 25 and 40 lari, depending on the time of day, but make sure to book in advance. Fitness and outdoor activities are also a big part of daily life. Gym memberships start at around $50 a month, but many people prefer running or walking through the parks and hills. Since Tbilisi is so hilly, even a simple walk can turn into a decent workout. For me, that's what makes the city special. You don't have to force a social life. If you stay for a while, you naturally build routines, start recognizing familiar faces, and keep coming back to your favorite places. Now let's talk about the smaller everyday costs, the kind of things that don't feel significant on their own, but still shape your monthly budget. Mobile data in Georgia is cheap and easy to set up. Most people use providers like Magti, SilkNet, or Selfie Mobile. A typical prepaid plan with enough data for everyday use costs around $20 per month. Haircuts are another simple expense. Local barbers are everywhere, and a basic haircut usually costs 20 lari. It's quick and straightforward. Basic toiletries and household items like shampoo, toothpaste, soap, and cleaning supplies are also affordable. I usually spend around 50 lari per month on these, mostly from supermarkets like Carrefour or Spar, where everything is easy to find in one place. Alright, now let's put everything together. The numbers here are based on my actual monthly spending in Tbilisi, real prices on the ground, and what I've consistently seen other expats paying. Nothing extreme, no luxury setup, and also not a strict budget survival mode. Just normal everyday life. In total, it comes out to just under 2,400 lari per month, which is roughly $900. That covers everything: rent, groceries, eating out, transport, SIM card, and all the smaller daily costs like coffees, occasional drinks, a few tennis sessions, haircuts, and general day-to-day living. Of course, this number is flexible. You can easily live on less if you choose a simpler place and stick mostly to local food. Or you can spend way more if you're going out often or living in more expensive areas. For me, this range feels like a comfortable balance. You're not constantly watching every expense, but you're also not overspending. If your experience in Tbilisi is different, let me know in the comments. One thing many people don't think about before moving abroad is how they're actually going to manage their money once they arrive. Finding an apartment is one thing, but moving savings from your home country, paying rent, and dealing with different currencies can become quite annoying if you're relying on traditional international banks. That's why I use Wise, which offers new users a fee-free transfer of up to $600. When I first started spending long periods abroad, I quickly realized that moving money between countries wasn't always as simple as I expected. Exchange rates weren't great, transfer fees added up, and the whole process felt more complicated than it needed to be. Wise is a regulated payments company built specifically to solve this for people living international lives. It gives me a simple way to manage money globally, allowing me to hold multiple currencies in one account, move money between them using the mid-market exchange rate, and see exactly what the fees are up front. Whether it's paying my monthly rent here in Georgia or receiving money from international clients using their local account details, everything is managed in one place. I also use the Wise multi-currency card when I travel. Since I spend a lot of time overseas, being able to spend directly from the same account in local currencies without foreign transaction fees makes life a lot easier. Another benefit is the transparency. You can track transfers right in the app, and about 75% of transfers are completed in under 20 seconds. So you always see exactly what's happening every step of the way. So if you're planning a move abroad, already living overseas, or simply looking for an easier way to manage your international finances, check out the link in the description or scan this QR code to get your fee-free transfer of up to $600. One of the biggest advantages of Georgia is how simple the entry rules are. For most nationalities, including the UK, US, Canada, and many European countries, you can enter visa-free and stay for 1 full year. There's no paperwork or visa process at all. This is one of the main reasons so many digital nomads and expats base themselves in Tbilisi. It removes almost all of the usual visa stress. If you want to stay longer, there are residency options, usually linked to work or business. But in practice, many people simply take a short trip to nearby Armenia, for example, to Yerevan by train, spend a weekend there, and return to Georgia for another fresh year. Healthcare here is generally very good for everyday needs, especially in private clinics. For foreigners, places like Innova, American Medical Center, and EVEX hospitals are the most common options. Waiting times are usually short, and for most routine things, you can get seen quickly without much hassle. If you have international health insurance, it's accepted in most private clinics, so the whole process is usually pretty straightforward. Tbilisi is an easy city to like, but it's not perfect. And there are a few things that usually catch people off guard when they first move here. One of the biggest issues is the condition of many older buildings. Central areas like Rustaveli Avenue, Vera, and parts of the Old Town are generally fine. But once you move slightly outside those areas, you often see buildings that are poorly maintained or in need of repair. Sidewalks can also be uneven, and maintenance standards vary a lot. It's part of the city's character, but it does take some getting used to. Language can also be a challenge outside of more tourist-heavy areas. In cafes, hotels, and expat-friendly places, you'll usually find English, but in everyday situations like local shops or government offices, Georgian is still dominant. Older generations often speak Russian as well, so if you know it, it can help. Otherwise, translation apps become part of daily life quite quickly. Driving is another adjustment. Traffic in Tbilisi can feel quite aggressive compared to many European cities, with fast turns, limited yielding, and a more flexible approach to rules. As a pedestrian, you definitely need to stay alert. Another thing is the air quality in winter. During colder months, especially in December and January, Air pollution can become noticeable in parts of the city. It's mainly due to older cars, heating systems, and the fact that the city sits in a valley. Some days are fine, but on others you can definitely feel it in the air. That said, none of these are deal breakers for most people. They're just part of living in a city that is still developing and changing quickly. And for many expats, the positives of Tbilisi still easily outweigh the downsides. So, is $900 enough for Tbilisi? For me, yes, comfortably. It's not luxury living, but it's enough to rent a nice place, eat out regularly, enjoy good coffee, stay active, and still have a social life. What I like most about Tbilisi is the balance. It's affordable, but it doesn't feel cheap. You get great food, an incredible wine culture, walkable neighborhoods, beautiful architecture, and a welcoming expat community. If you're planning to move abroad or spend longer periods traveling, managing your money across different countries is something you'll eventually have to think about. That's where I personally find Wise useful, and if you'd like to check it out, you'll find a link in the description. I hope this video gave you a realistic idea of what life in Tbilisi actually costs. If you've lived here yourself, or you're thinking about moving here, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.